I'm a trained performer. I went to school for performing arts high school, went to college for several years, and I have been a professional performer for 30 years or more now. So I understand what it means to perform. And however wonderful that is, I'm starting to understand even more how when we stop performing, so many wonderful, unexpected things can happen. And so if you listen to or watch last week's episode of the podcast, we did something that we had never done before, which is we went off the cuff. We did that one previous episode with my daughter, but um, we had not been doing that on a regular basis. I have a outline and somewhat of a script that I follow so that I can make sure that my messages are succinct and that you can digest them, which is the point of this. I'm not speaking just to hear myself speak, although it does help me. I'm speaking so that you can receive what it is that I'm trying to offer you in the best way possible. But last week we did somewhat of an experiment where there was a subject that I wanted to present, but in the way that I was presenting it just wasn't coming out. So I stopped performing. I moved out of the way so that what needed to be said could be said. And so we're gonna do that again this week. So I had an idea for what I wanted to present. And again, it was a struggle trying to get that out. But I stopped, I turned the camera off, and I thought and I meditated on it. And it dawned upon me that what I was trying to discuss was just a distraction. It was a distraction from the truth. And so, what I do want to discuss today is just that truth versus distraction. I have a mentor who has gone from mentor to very good friend, still a mentor, but very, very dear friend of mine. And for the last 12 plus years, one of the things that he's been teaching me is to discern, to have discernment, to know the difference between truth and distraction. And I want to submit to you that knowing the difference between truth and distraction can make or break your life. And those are heavy words, but I mean that sincerely. How do I know that? Well, I know that from experience and I know that from good teaching. So let's talk about the experience, which oftentimes is the best teacher. I cannot begin to tell you how much time has been wasted in my life chasing after the distraction, all the while the truth sat right alongside of me. You know, that's the funny thing about truth is that it doesn't really go anywhere, doesn't really move, it doesn't really change per se. What changes is our perspective. What changes is our position, our paradigms. Those are the things that change so that we can see how close we are actually to the truth or how far away we are. So the truth was always there, but because I was chasing distractions, chasing rabbits, fighting battles that were never meant for me in the first place. And that in and of itself is probably the greatest distraction. If your enemy can get you to fight a battle that was never designed for you, was never designed for you to win, you don't have the right weaponry, you don't have all the facts, you are not designed to win this battle. If your enemy can get you focused on a particular battle to move you further away from that immobile truth, then he's won. You're done. And if we're honest, how many of us can look over our lives and think about petty arguments? Not even just petty arguments, but major arguments, repetitive arguments, repetitive cyclical scenarios that we have gone over and over. You know, the city can change and we're still having that same argument in a new locale with new players, but same argument. I love the expression, same soup warmed over. You know, how many of us can attest to that? How many of us can attest to that cyclical criticism that you have received through various relationships, personal and professional? And yet here you are again in a new relationship, still having to fight that same battle, you know, whether right or not right, whether you are being accused appropriately or inappropriately, right? It's still a distraction. And so let me pause there for just a second because I can hear your mind churning. So when I talk about cyclical battles, you know, there are some battles that are yours. Let me rephrase that. There is some work that needs to happen on your part to eradicate certain cyclical things in your life. So when we talk about truth versus distraction, this is not to imply that every single battle or thorn or oppression or whatever the case may be, all of that is somehow a distraction. We're not suggesting that. What I am suggesting is that we have to have discernment to be able to figure out if this is our battle, if there's some work on our part that can be done to eradicate this thing. So just want to make that distinction when we're talking about truth versus distraction. But for the battles that are not yours, that are purely distraction, we've got to be able to discern the truth from the distraction. And I mentioned that knowing that difference can be one of the greatest shifters in your life, one of the greatest paradigm shifts in your life. It will save you so much time. And we all know and understand that time is the greatest, the most valuable asset that we have. Not money, not resources, not even relationships. Time is the greatest, most valuable asset we have. So if we can talk about a subject, if we can get you to a place where you start to understand the difference between truth and distraction, I would say that that's something that will be very, very valuable to you. I know that it's extremely valuable to me. And again, this is something that I've been working on for the past 12 plus years. And I don't sit here before you um, giving you the impression that I've mastered it. But just like everything in life, there are levels. So don't despise the day of small beginnings. So wherever you are now in that journey, wherever you are right now in your ability to discern truth from distractions, just celebrate the fact that you are now thinking about the fact that you need to deal with truth versus distraction. Don't condemn yourself if you have succumbed to distraction for far too long. Today is that breaking point for you. The days of regret are over. Destiny is at hand. If you're watching this video right now, if you're listening to this podcast right now, your new day can start right now. And so let's dig into it a little bit. So we talked a little bit about truth. And in today's day and age, again, everybody's got their own version of truth, right? The buzz phrases, the catchphrases right now are, I'm just living my truth. If everyone is just living their truth, then what is the truth? So I do believe that we're all fearfully, wonderfully, uniquely made. We all have personalities. We all have a soul. And our soul and our personality is just a tool that we can use to express the truth. But if the truth is filtered too heavily through our soul, through our personality, that means the truth has to go through all of our pain, all of our brokenness, all of our hurts, all of our regrets. right? So it's like you're trying to filter something through something that's already dirty, right? So when we talk about discerning truth from distraction, we have to first understand what the truth is. And we do that by understanding that if we have brokenness in our life, and we all do, if we have hurts in our lives, and we all do, and we're trying to filter the truth through that, then we have to understand that this might be tainted a little bit. So if it's tainted a little bit, yours is, mine is, theirs is. If the truth is being filtered through all of our hurts and pain and brokenness, then why is that person's truth more relevant than mine, and vice versa? So you can see how we can run into trouble in that regard, right? So now we're dealing with, someone who has endured more pain and hardship, but standing on quote unquote their truth. And now that truth has to be lifted up above everyone else's because they've been through more. That's not really that's too fickle. That's too fickle. Uh it's too fickle, right? So we need again to come to an understanding that there is a truth that we can stand on, that is a strong foundation that does not move, that does not change. And once we get to that place where we're leaning on that truth, not your truth, my truth, their truth, then now we can begin to start to discern the difference between the truth versus the many distractions. There are many distractions. And this world has curated distractions tailored to you. So the things that distract you won't distract me. It's petty. It's like I could brush that off of my back like water off a duck's back, right? But there are some very curated distractions that are tailor made for me. So, understanding that, we have to have empathy and grace and compassion and not judge one another and say, I would never be distracted by that. That would never trip me up. Well, yeah, it wouldn't. But there are some things that would trip you up. And so just understanding the reality that my distractions are not your distractions. So what am I saying? I'm saying there is a truth that we can stand on, that is a foundation that's immovable, that can withstand the many fiery darts, the many curated darts that are aimed directly at you. And so once we come to a place where we recognize what our foundation is, the truth, then we can start to see the traps. We can start to see. And what happens is the more truth you stand on, the stronger your ability to stand on the firm foundation of truth. It's almost as if your eyes are opened more. Your your eyes are open more, and you start to see the where the snares are coming from. You start to see how you're being rage baited. You start to see how uh, your propensities and proclivities are distractions as well. You know, why why do I get lazy and procrastinate in these scenarios? So let's pause there for a second. Let's talk about something like that. Here's a real life example of distraction that's curated for you, right? So if you have a propensity to get to a place, however regularly, where all of a sudden your work ethic takes a beating, and you want to sit on the couch and eat potato chips and binge watch and do whatever you do to procrastinate and to self soothe, right? So if you have that propensity, but now you also have the firm foundation of truth. And the truth is that you were created with a purpose, on purpose, with a purpose. So now you have this truth, But now you're facing your propensity of laziness, mediocrity, aloofness, um, and the likes, right? So now, armed with the truth, you can see, man, when I get overwhelmed, and I'm not really creating space for me to um, find rest, first thing, or when I try to take on too much of other people's burden, then I get overwhelmed and then I get lazy and despondent. Or when I consume too much media, social media, news, and the weight of the world gets too heavy on me, then I get this way, right? So when we understand the truth, we can start to see clearly or more clear what our personal distractions look like, and we can start to see them coming. And why am I saying all of that? Why am I giving you this example? I'm trying to get you to the place of understanding that your distractions are very, very tailored to you, and it behooves you. The onus is on you to start to see them coming. And I can attest, I can declare to you that the stronger my foundation is in the truth, the better ability I have to see those fiery darts coming. And having said that, that doesn't mean that you're going to see it all the time or soon enough, right? Sometimes you won't see it coming. Sometimes you won't see it until it's too late. And I say that in quotes because it's never too late, right? So that's when having partners and accountability, people who can hold you accountable, people who you give access to your life, they can also be your wingman. They can be, your backup, right? They can know your propensities and your proclivities, and they can help you when you're just so overwhelmed that you don't even realize that you're being distracted. You don't even realize it can become our norm, right? We can get so knee deep in distractions where we don't even realize we're living in a distracted state. We just think this is our norm. And we learn, it's like those functioning alcoholics. We learn how to live in this handicapped state. And it's not until we get vision, sight, based on truth, or if someone comes alongside of us who we trust, they have access to our lives, and they can say, you're living beneath your potential, however small or grand that is. And all of that, all of what I'm discussing with you, all of what I'm describing to you is in an effort for you to maximize this moment that you have on this earth. You're not promised tomorrow, and you're not going to be here for a long time. You're going to be here for a time, but none of us know the hour or the day. And this is not fear mongering. This is not to say, okay, since you might die tomorrow, go ham and just, no, be orderly always. But I'm trying to shift your paradigm to respect your time, whatever time you do have left. Respect your time by focusing on not being distracted from the truth. And as I mentioned before, we were all created on purpose with a purpose. And the focus of your life should be accepting, receiving and accepting that purpose and walking in it. And as soon as you decide to do that, the gates of hell will be open to distract you from that. And if you can be distracted long enough, time will pass you by. And so if you don't take anything else away from what I'm saying to you is that because your time is finite on this earth, because you don't know when your time will be over on this earth, it behooves you to protect Protect your time, your most valuable resource, by not allowing distraction. Your personalized distraction that's got your name on it. Not allowing those distractions to derail you. And I promise you, distractions are so tricky. Distractions are so deceptive. Distractions are, and in my experiences, the level of brokenness in my life equated to my inability to recognize distraction. I'll say that again. The level of brokenness in my life equated to my inability to discern distraction from truth. And I have no regrets in the general sense of the word. But what I do have is hope that as I continue moving forward, learning to lean on the truth, I'm very, very excited about being able to live a life free from the devastation of distraction, because make no mistake about it, distraction came to destroy. And I'm a builder. You're a builder. You were created by the greatest creator to create. And this is a message for creatives, which is all of us, believe it or not. This is a message for parents. This is a message for entrepreneurs. This is a message for anybody who endeavors to live the life that they were created to live. You've got to get to the place of being able to discern truth from distractions. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy this podcast. I sincerely believe that this can help you. If you want to continue this discussion, please feel free to reach out directly to me. Send me a message, leave something in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'm so grateful for all of the interaction that I've received on these episodes thus far. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the conversation going. All of this is in an effort to help you break the chain. So until the next video, until the next podcast, enjoy your day, enjoy your week, and keep breaking that chain once and for all. Peace.